Hi, Pastor Nathan Eck with your hashtag Better Together devotion for today. Make sure to click like, subscribe, all those fun buttons below so that you don't miss out on any of these daily devotions. One of my favorite questions as a pastor is when folks realize that I don't do this just on Christmas and Easter, but I do this on a weekly basis. That is, I come and I prepare and I come prepared to preach, to bring a sermon to the congregation. And a part of that is so uber important because that's where most of my training actually was involved in worship and sermon preparation. And one of the questions folks will ask then is, how do you do that? How do you come up with something new, fresh from a 2,000-year-old book, every week, and I've been doing this for almost 20 years now. How do you do that 20 times? Well, that's over 1,000 Sundays, Pastor Nathan. That's a lot of preaching. Well, here's how. I want to talk about this week about how we go about hearing the word, where sermons come from in that regard. And it first and foremost starts with knowing the word that is a who, not a book. And that's the very first thing I always want to say whenever I talk about what it means to be preaching, what it means to listen, because what it is that we're striving to do as pastors and preachers, and what it truly is that we're trying to do as the church is actually not to know, be able to memorize and do sword drills and find scriptures within the Bible as fast as possible. That's not the point of Christianity. The point of Christianity is to get to know Jesus, who is the Word. In John's Gospel, he says very clearly that the Word was God, the Word was with God, and the Word was God. The Word became flesh and dwelt among us. The Word here is Jesus Christ, the one who we are seeking to know. A lot of times, I think we in the church, we get this so confused because we ask questions that are maybe somewhat the right question, but we're doing so with a weaponization in our minds. We ask things like, is it biblical? Well, maybe it'd be better if we asked, is it Christ-like? Is it from the Word that is a who? Is it a message that Christ would say? Is it a thing that Christ would do? A lot of times when I hear the phrase, is it biblical, I'm hearing people weaponize the scriptures, which is entirely easy to do, by the way. When we say things like, is it biblical, remember that having more than one wife and several concubines is biblical. Remember that bashing babies' brains against the rocks is biblical. It's there in the Psalms. There are so many nasty things inside the Bible, as well as the beautiful salvation story that God offers. You see, as we approach the text, as we approach the Bible, as we approach preaching a sermon, fundamentally the first and primary place that we're trying to be is with Jesus, the Word made flesh, the Word that is a who. If it's from the Word that is a who, without a doubt, we can know that God is speaking and that we are called to be listening. Whether you're sitting in a pew or listening to a podcast or a devotion online, or whether you're reading the biblical text on your own or spending time in contemplation and prayer, make sure today to ask this question: am I listening for the Word that is a who? Am I listening for Jesus? Am I listening for God to speak to me today? Trust me, when you are, you're making the world and all those around better together. Amen.